everybody, it's us, the Brobots in Disguise!
Hey, we are,
Still on summer break.
Yes.
But we decided that we would do a short little episode talking about something else. We're going to discuss some of the more current Transformers series in a sort of casual discussion format.
yeah, amazingly, we are actually covering recent things.
Yeah. This is why we don't do it very often, is because it'll soon be outdated. I mean, all right, here's what we're covering today. We are talking about the Energon Universe comics from Skybound.
As a whole.
Yeah. Just our general thoughts as a whole, not just the Transformers comics, but the other ones, G.I. Joe and Void Rivals and all that. Then we are going to discuss the new Japanese series, Wild King. Going to give a brief little review and discussion on those episodes and talk a little bit on our thoughts about the toys. Then we are going to give speculation, because at the time of this recording it's not come out yet, but we're going to give our little speculation on Transformers Cyberworld, which will be coming out later this month.
Yes.
And we'll give our thoughts on those toys too.
Where to find these things is for the Skybound comics. Now, we've been reading it through a local library digital borrowing extension called Hoopla.
Yeah.
So if you have a local library card, most of the volumes are up there.
Yeah.
We are limited by a certain amount of borrows that we can do through the week or the month, but
you could probably also find them most places that comic books are sold.
literally digital or in-person comic sales places. Like it's available to get.
Wild King is available on the Takara Tomy YouTube channel, the Japanese YouTube channel. You'd have to use auto-generated translated subtitles.
And it will give you very, very bizarre English
However,
interpretations.
there are already fan subs and even a fan dub out there, so you can also watch it that way.
Which is wild, King.
Yeah. Actually, the dub is not bad.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then the Cyberworld is releasing very soon on, I believe
it's the...
Did I say Wild World? Cyberworld. Cyber Chase. Transformers Cyber Chase is releasing on, I think it's the Hasbro, it's either Transformers official YouTube channel or Hasbro Pulse YouTube channel.
It will most likely be on both.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah.
It'll be on YouTube somewhere.
Exactly.
And I am also trying, we're trying two new things.
Two new things.
We've got, literally two, because we've got two mics this time.
Yes.
So we're trying that out. So
we have
our practice with the audio quality.
We are attempting, we're transforming into a new sound wave.
Which is superior, we hope.
Two microphones superior, one microphone inferior.
Do I need to draw a second little microphone guy on the table?
Maybe make him fight.
Make him fight.
That'll be our thumbnail.
The second thing I'm trying is we want to keep this at a brisk conversation. So I am actually setting a timer, a 22-minute timer, because that's how long Transformer episodes used to be. Now apparently they're only about 5 minutes each because they're web series. But 22-minute timer for each of our discussion topics.
A short episode in this economy? With the Brobots in Disguise? Impossible.
All right, so with that, we'll take a short break and... No, I'm kidding. We'll go ahead and if you haven't figured it out, hi, I'm Frankie.
And I'm Hayden.
And we are the Brobots in Disguise. We usually do analysis videos or podcast episode analysis of Transformer episodes, large groups of them at a time. But today we are discussing current events. And with that, let's get into our first subject. Which one do you want to cover first?
It depends. Do you want to go heavy meat and potatoes at the beginning, or kind of ease our way into a longer discussion?
We'll do Cyberworld last because by the time most people watch this, our speculation will be irrelevant and they can just stop listening when they get to that part.
I think most people interested in this will probably be interested in Skybound Energon Universe.
And also Wild King.
And Wild King, yeah.
Yeah. But if you happen to be watching this before Cyberworld comes out, welcome. I hope you enjoy our speculation.
Yes.
So with that, let's just go ahead and talk about Skybound while our energy levels are still up. Okay, so where are you in the Energon universe? What have you read so far?
For me, currently, I have read volumes 1 through 3 of Transformers. I have read volumes 1 through 3 of Void Rivals. And I have read all of the G.I. Joe single character 5-issue Spotlight volumes and the first volume of the G.I. Joe comic line.
Wow, me too.
Whoa!
So we're actually
caught up.
Yeah.
At the same time.
I also went back and checked out the 2024 special, which has little snippets of things, and I found out that those actually are included in all of the other volumes.
I was pleasantly surprised.
I was like, okay, I didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
But
and very seamlessly integrated too.
Yeah.
So
where do you want to start? What do you want to talk about first? Transformers. You want to talk about Transformers first?
I'd say let's try to go.
What's chronological?
Chronological.
Okay, well that
first
would be
up,
Void
Rivals.
I feel like Void Rivals is both the first and last thing so far.
So what I like about this, first of all, it's a really cut and dry attempt to do a connected universe. More often than not, these sort of things kind of happen in comics like naturally. Yeah. Like it's like, oh, well, this comic's doing well and this comic's doing well. Oh, they're in the same universe. Oh gosh, that comes with a lot of continuity and stuff that we just have to account for now. But the fact that this is built from the ground up to function with each other,
right,
and also connect with each other, but still be distinct enough so that you can read each individual comic line without necessarily needing to read the other ones.
Although I thought it was really funny that Skyfire or they call him Jetfire in there, right?
He's Jetfire.
Yeah, Jetfire shows up and then is like, bye.
Yeah. So yeah, if so this very famously started off with the hook of like, hey, famous comic writer Robert Kirkman is making a new series. It's called Void Rivals. And a little things leaked for people in the know of the connections with Transformers. But for those who didn't, this was a complete secret that this new comic line was going to be in the same universe as a Transformers comic.
Right.
And the Transformers comic had not yet been announced before issue 1 dropped. Right. So the Skyfire reveal was a huge surprise.
Right.
For the most part. The people who are looking for information about it, we're going to find out that it was connected. But if you just picked up Void Rivals on the shelf, had no idea what it was, and started reading it, and then all of a sudden, there's a Transformer in the middle of the comic.
Yeah.
And he disappears just as quickly.
But most likely you're going to know about Void Rivals because of the connection to Transformers.
Yeah.
I doubt that people who just completely randomly pick up Void Rivals would know who Jetfire was and why that was interesting.
Yeah, it's sadly a fun experience that is kind of lost now since Void Rivals is now just eternally branded with the Energon Universe.
Right. And let's talk about how Energon is fundamental in all of these comics.
Yes.
I really love how they've interwoven it into... Because that's something that I've had problems with other crossovers that Transformers has done, is if the Transformers exist in the same universe as this, why isn't Energon more widely known? We've talked about that in some of our episodes discussing the wider universe of Transformers in the G1 cartoon, because that's where we're still at this point in our our analysis review series.
Still trudging our way through season 2.
Almost there. But in here, they've really interwoven Energon as that connective tissue, hence the Energon Universe.
Yes.
Right? And then as the Void Rivals continues its story, I love how they bring in other, particularly season 3 characters from Transformers into the universe, because they're out there in space doing their thing. You know, of course they're going to cross paths with other things that are out there in Transformers space doing their thing. Right?
And
it just makes sense. And as the series go, I feel like it gets better at integrating the two worlds together.
Yes. The biggest concern that I had with this idea going into it was like, okay, so I have to read everything.
Right.
To keep up with this. I'm grateful that it is only 3 comic lines.
Right.
Imprints, I guess it's called. Not imprints, that's like the main company. But series. I only have to keep up with 3 series.
Yes.
However, I have to keep up with 3 series.
Now, here's the thing. I actually think that until they merge all 3 of them, I feel that each of the 3 different series are completely consumable on their own. There are references to other things. This is something that I dislike about other comic book series, is that you have to read 9 million things just to understand what's going on in this one Spider-Man comic, you know? But with
constant
this,
references
I feel
to well, check out this issue of this other entirely different comic to figure out the context of why this guy is now blonde.
So I feel like this does a really good job of streamlining and keeping, Transformers, Void Rivals, and G.I. Joe as one single thing that you can just pick up and read just that one thing.
Yes.
Now, if you expand, there's a whole bunch more you can get out of this universe. Without having, by combining all these together. But if you just want to read Transformers, you're completely fine with doing that.
Exactly.
You're gonna be able to do that pretty well.
Right.
Speaking of, we are at 15. We've got 15 minutes now. So, quick, tell me, what do you think about the story of Void Rivals?
Story of Void Rivals. I actually really like more than I thought I was going to.
Yes.
I kind of read it just as obligation of it's in the Energon universe. I got to read it to figure out what's going on in the Transformers universe. But I got way more invested in Derek and Solila's storyline than I thought it was.
Solila?
Solila?
And Handroid.
The breakout star of this series.
Android is great. Yeah, I really like how quickly and easily they tell the story of these two antagonists becoming, as they say, rivals.
Yes.
It's like, that's the name of the story. And then how quickly we get into lore, and like, this is a story we've seen before, but it's done very well. It's done very simply, but it's also done very beautifully.
Exactly.
The art is great. I really like the
art is fantastic across the board.
Yes.
Because there's individual artists, and they kind of like tag in and out for different issues and stuff like that. But the art, it's distinct for each one too.
Right.
Like Void Rivals has it's kind of rough around the edges, but
very moody.
It's very moody, but it's very crisp and like sharp. Yeah. Like, very sharp lines and stuff.
Bold uses of dark colors.
Yes.
It really works with that, outer space and cyberpunk feel that it has.
Yes. G.I. Joe, especially the Duke comic, and then we also see that through the G.I. Joe line, has a very, I describe it as like an action figure. Like a very sleek and well-crafted action figure. Like the type you get from Big Bad Toy Store. Or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, very intentional and sharp. Or not sharp, but very crisp. And then Transformers is like on the opposite end of that spectrum, where it's just gritty, man. Like, it is gnarly. That art style... it just looks so gnarly.
It's great. It's intense. But yeah, the characters, I like them. They get interactions are very good. Their characters and arcs, sort of, opposite arcs where they both start on opposite ends of the spectrum and kind of meet in the middle.
Yes.
And the learning more about each other's worlds, and then learning about their own world and how unity is needed and all that. And then the connection that has to the Transformers world is really interesting too.
Yes.
I like how they combine the lore like that, and it feels like a lot of fun just playing with the lore.
Yes, it's I like that they went for a very straightforward narrative.
Yeah,
because it feels like a very well done like young adult story of like two
coming of age
two characters from different worlds have to learn to work together, and it's kind of dystopic-ish, but not really, but also them being
is this Future Boy Conan? Anyway.
But it's like them being so insular, like their point of view is intentionally made to be so insular.
Yeah.
It makes the entire universe that they exist in feel way bigger.
Yeah.
So moments like Jetfire showing up.
Right.
It's not just like a one and done, because it does tie into other stuff, but it just adds to the scope of this universe.
Yeah. And speaking of scope, let's zero in our scopes. We're at 11 minutes. Tell me about G.I. Joe.
So G.I. Joe,
Cobra Commander gives me such school shooter vibes for the first part of his run, but then you start to really root for him, like in a vile way. It's like, he's such a bad guy.
Yes.
But then like you start to like, you want to see him succeed just to see how bad things get.
Yes.
And I really love the way they wrote his character. It just goes on. And also he wears the old Snake costume from season 3 of Transformers.
So,
great. Fantastic.
Prior to reading the Cobra Commander thing, I had no idea that Cobra Law was a thing.
Oh yeah,
in the G.I. Joe universe.
I knew vaguely of it, but it does not crop up very often.
Yeah, all I knew was that there's this guy named Serpentor, and he's like from a ancient snake worshipping cult or something like that. I thought it was just tied to him. Yeah. I had no idea that it was like this gigantic setting. And
I mean, I think in the movie, I need to watch the G.I. Joe movie from the 80s, but like Cobra Commander gets turned into a snake.
Yeah. But I love that they weave that organic nature of that society. They crank it up to 11 so that it can contrast the fact that they exist in a world that the Transformers exist in. So it's that organic versus metallic. And then Cobra Commander kind of being this weird middle ground between the two. Is that, and that's what casts him out. That's what gets him kicked out, and eventually, I love that he's a character, at least in his individual Spotlight one, he's a character that you wind up rooting for. But he's horrible. Like, he's just the worst.
He really is.
He's a dictator from the beginning.
And
he knows it, and that's what he's all about.
And then Destro is the same way. The story of that is really good too, because it's like he's already on the, whereas Cobra Commander is rising. Destro is already on the top, and he's fighting to maintain his place there. And it's very interesting seeing him have to twist over the story to keep his command by joining Cobra, and then also that cameo from what's her name, the girl who loved Powerglide. What the heck? I did not expect that.
She's here.
That's
and
wild.
Also like really vital to the story.
It's great. It's fantastic. She's totally different than in The Girl Who Loved Powerglide, but also, in a way it is the same character, an evolution of that character. And
I'm usually not a fan of that, like, completely reinvents the character so that they can fit into the story, because then it's like, well, why are you bringing that character in? Just make your own.
Right.
But they actually included all of the elements of her character in that she's living the high life, but also capable on her own. and also has a internal electromagnetic like device deleter that's implanted inside of her to explain her bad luck with machines.
I prefer her just being magic, but that's cool too.
Yeah.
And speaking of reinventing, I find it funny that a lot of these like 80s legacy franchise things that were super gung-ho pro-military type of stuff, because they're these legacy franchises that are still making money, you still have to have that military aspect to them. But because people don't chronically online people generally don't like the government anymore, that they always have to reinvent these characters as, well, Duke, he's going rogue this time. They do the same thing with Mission Impossible, you know, but like G.I. Joe, it starts out with him going rogue, and then he's set up as both part of the military, but G.I. Joe is also sort of, in a way, this rogue faction of the military.
Yeah,
so he's a real American hero without being tied down to all the ickiness that is, government.
Yeah, that comes with being a pawn of the government.
Right.
But like, weirdly enough, those shows that were like, Reaganomics era of like, military cool sort of thing suddenly become way more in depth just because of time.
Yeah.
And
it is very interesting.
It works in G.I. Joe's favor. But the Duke storyline, I love a good like the wrong man sort of plot.
Oh yeah. It's very Hitchcock.
Yeah, where he's just like he's just going nuts. And but it also plays so much into the interconnectivity of these comics is that it's a one-page moment in the Transformers comic that spurs Duke's entire like unraveling as a person in his 5 issues and stuff. But to Starscream, it's a speck. Like, it does not matter to him. He literally does it out of amusement.
Right.
And that one incident completely changes the trajectory of Duke's life. And I love that like impact.
Yeah. It's neat to see that sort of, something that you don't think, is that big of a deal could have a major impact on somebody. And, it shows how, we only intersect at small points of other people's lives. And, they have a whole thing going on and we have a whole thing going on that never, parallel. But at that one point we intersect,
Make it count.
Yeah. And you know what we didn't make count? Our time. So we've got 5 minutes left. Let's finish up our discussion of G.I. Joe, and then I'm going to give us an extra 20 minutes to talk about Skybound Transformers.
That's fair. So
because that's the main meat and potatoes of this discussion that we haven't gotten to yet. Scarlet, I enjoyed that. The ninja espionage. Fantastic. Loved it. Storm Shadow getting the Energon blade. Oh my gosh, so cool.
Yes. So I think Scarlet for a while was just kind of like the weakest one to me.
Yeah.
I was like, I like this.
She hasn't had a lot to do in a long time.
Yeah, but like the comic itself was like
the comic.
Yeah. I was like, it's all right. It's pretty good. I'm not super invested in this storyline right now. But the more that it started delving into like the Arashikage clan and stuff, I was like, okay, now I'm here for this. Like,
yeah.
And just that impact of like we still don't know what the Energon blade is, like its origins. We still don't know like who forged it, how it was forged, what exactly it does.
Yeah. It cuts things in half.
We just know that it's a cool fuchsia sword.
Cool space sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that the comic is mostly setting that up as like we don't know what exactly is going to happen, but nothing good is going to come from Storm Shadow having this kill everything sword.
He's going to kill the guy in the black hole.
Yes.
But yeah, no, and then in G.I. Joe, the comic run, I just like how it brings all of except for Scarlet, because Scarlet's fairly disconnected.
She hasn't really tied back in just yet.
Not yet. I imagine in volume 2 she will.
Probably.
But yeah, I like that, it's that story of, oh, we got to get the team together. We got to figure out how it works and stuff.
We got to get the band together.
Very interesting that Baroness is on G.I. Joe. And I'm wondering if that's going to lead to a betrayal or if this is just reinventing the character.
Yeah, I think...
Because, I mean, obviously she's going to be a fan favorite,
recent developments, just from like seeing some of the covers of more recent issues past Volume 1.
Yeah.
Seems like she's probably going to move away from G.I. Joe, but I don't know if she'll jump directly to Cobra in any capacity.
Because historically she's been part of Cobra.
Yeah, but she's had a history of going back and forth between either being neutral or fully Cobra or fully G.I. Joe. So I like that they just like jumped straight to her being on G.I. Joe. It works really good. And also like the chemistry with Duke is, impeccable.
Yeah.
And
that total femme fatale against the straight cut all American hero.
Yeah. But even like it's not even explicitly like flirting or romantic or anything like that. It's just that they have a good dynamic with each other.
Right. Just two characters of opposing worldviews.
Yeah.
Working together.
And I like that they kind of honed in on like who exactly is Duke as a person.
Yeah.
What is his defining characteristic? And they zeroed in on it's that he's so doggedly determined that it's to the point where it's almost like self-inflicting harm.
Right.
Like he
so never gives up, but that also hurts him.
Yeah, he never gives up to the point where he's willing to do absolutely insane stuff.
I love the amount of times that people are just like, he's insane.
Yes.
Even the people on Cobra sides is like, he's insane.
Yeah. But I think the biggest highlight for me was finally having Cobra Commander and Duke meet.
It feels, a long time coming, and it really is impactful.
But I love that it's not really, something that's like, my old enemy like that. Yeah. That this is the beginning, that one we've seen. I think my favorite panel from anything in this G.I. Joe section of the universe is the 2-page spread where Cobra Commander is talking about, you and I have had this same beginning.
Yes.
And it shows the different scenes from both of their spotlight issues. Yes, that parallel between Cobra Commander and Duke and how beautifully it was displayed through the 2-page spread.
Yes.
Is there was huge highlight. I think that made reading all of the material surrounding G.I. Joe so far, that's been the biggest payoff so far.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes.
Yeah, that's how you do tie it all up. And speaking of tying it up, all right, we are out of time for our discussion of the general Energon universe. Let us deep dive into, well, not really deep dive, but 22 minutes of discussion on the Transformers portion of the Energon universe.
Yes.
So here we are with Transformers of the Energon universe.
Okay. This is the center. Like this is
the core.
This is the core of this universe. And I love that it zeroes in on a lot of things that G1 Season 1 and Season 2 really, really touched on, but never really went into depth with. A lot of the stuff that we've talked about in this podcast.
Yes. Is fulfilled in this comic.
It's what a lot of people have been wanting from Transformers for a while now, and it's approaching the G1 like storytelling elements with sincerity and honesty, and pulling from those themes that are present and expanding on them in unique ways while still maintaining that G1 specific zone.
Right. Yeah, it definitely, I've seen like arguments about, is it edgy? Is it just being edgy? No, I've read comics that have been just edgy, and
I've read plenty of 90s edge Marvel comics.
This is dark, but it's not edgy. Edgy, I would say, is like just being, doing grim things just for shock value.
Yes.
This is dark because it has serious it has a serious tone to it, and it has it's a serious take on these issues and subject matter. However, because a lot of people die in this,
this is
both
a brutal
Transformers
comic
and humans. It is brutal, but it is not. It's not done without reason.
Yes.
It is done to create and show you that when there are giant robots trampling around a city full of small flesh people, there are going to be stakes.
Yes.
Because people are going to get hurt. However, it does not ever make itself, completely, absolutely grim, dark, and ugly and edgy.
Yes.
It still has a sense of humor. There are tons of times throughout all of these comics, not just Transformers, but the whole Energon universe, that I will flip a panel or I'll flip a page, and the next panel is just having the most fun with this character. Introduction or return or, action pose or something. And I just find myself going, oh, heck yeah!
Yeah.
It's just so fun. But it wouldn't be as fun if they didn't also create those stakes, because
exactly.
You get those hero highs from, rising above the lows,
Exactly.
It's just really well done. I love the artwork. Like we said, it's gritty, it's loose, it's sketchy, It brings a real energy and movement and vitality to the characters.
Like, I'm in general, taste-wise, I'm a sucker for, like, very heavy ink and line work.
Yeah.
To where it's like this sort of style, where it's like very gritty, but very pronounced. Like, it knows exactly the types of shapes that it's working with.
Yes.
This is an art style that works very seamlessly with Transformers character designs.
Yeah.
Because it brings the weight and impact of their size into the picture.
Yeah.
Like, there's countless terrific Transformers artists that have, done this in different ways. But this one really, really leans in on the fact that these are not just giant robots tearing up the city.
Yeah.
These are giant people tearing up the city.
Yeah.
Every single act of destruction that they do, it is a lot of like collateral damage and stuff.
Yeah.
But most of it is intentional.
Right.
Because most of it is by Starscream.
Yeah.
Who is psychotic in this series.
Right.
But they really, really hone in on the fact that some of the Decepticons are cruel.
Yes.
And most of the Decepticons are villainous in a way that's not necessarily, like, without depth.
But I also like that sometimes you get little glimpses into these characters where they feel very human, very personable, like they have a personality for once, They feel like a real person and you feel bad for them. And then they just turn around and do something completely evil.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, yeah, no, they are definitely a Decepticon still.
Right. It's like you can have...
like Starscream has a kind of a tragic backstory.
Yeah.
But in the modern day, he's just absolutely evil.
Yeah, I think that brings us to probably the most prominent theme of this story is the cost of war.
Yeah.
And not just the cost of, like, conflict, the cost of war.
Yeah.
Like a very long war.
Right.
How does that wear down on immortal creatures?
Yeah.
And you see that most prominently with Starscream is that he started off very optimistic and idealistic.
Yeah.
But he still had that, like, kind of self-serving core.
Right.
It was for, like, reasons that were, pretty, good. But it was still in his own self-interest.
Right.
That gets amplified and abused and used and cranked up to 11 by the circumstances of his encounters with Optimus, his encounters with Megatron, living in a war for millennia, and just becoming cruel. Like, cruel without... he's a bully because he was bullied.
I don't know if Megatron is going to have a typical backstory of revolutionary or gladiator or what, or if he's just Megatron was always evil.
Yes.
Origin.
Weirdly enough,
it feels like they're going for the Megatron was always evil origin,
Yes.
and I am here for it because it just makes sense.
That's my favorite thing about this is that it this along with also like G.I. Joe and a bit of Void Rivals.
Yeah.
They let their villains be villainous.
Yes.
Is that it's not a bad thing to have bad characters, like evil characters.
Right. Not everybody needs to be sympathized with.
Exactly. Cobra Commander, I can root for him, but I still think he's a villain. I still think he's evil.
Yeah.
But you can understand where he came from. You can have empathy for the guy without being sympathetic to who he is.
Right.
And that goes for like a lot of the Decepticons. They still manage to weave in like it's a very good storyline in Transformers to have Decepticons who are doubting their position and then coming to the good side.
There's a scene where Shockwave is like, wow, this planet is beautiful. And you're like, yeah, okay, maybe there's something to him. And then he immediately kills a whale.
And I love that.
And
it's
this is something that we talked about in our general discussion, especially of season 1 of Generation 1.
Yeah.
Is the Transformers admiring the beauty of Earth. And for the first 2 volumes, there's not very many chapters that go by that one Transformer or another doesn't marvel at the beauty of Earth.
Yeah.
And I think that's really... It really gets to the heart of the characters.
Yes.
And speaking of that, let's talk about Optimus Prime.
Yes, I think the thesis statement of the Transformers comic.
Because he does the Iron Giant thing with the deer,
Yes, that is the thesis statement of this entire comic, is that Optimus, when he first steps out of the Ark to look at Earth, he marvels at the beauty of nature.
Yeah.
The first thing that he winds up doing is accidentally stepping on a deer.
Yeah.
And he is heartbroken because of that. It's simultaneously falling in love with something that is so fragile and realizing that your very presence is hurting it.
Yeah.
And that's like mainly Optimus's arc, is just coming to terms with the fact that no matter what I do, no matter how good I try to be, people get hurt.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as there's conflict, somebody's going to get hurt.
He has a beautiful naivety to him. Like an innocence to Optimus. It's very much a young Optimus Prime.
Yes.
But also with the wisdom and ancient maturity of an older Optimus Prime.
Yes.
So I feel like that really picks up on the threads laid down by Generation 1 Optimus Prime,
right.
He's somewhere in between, animated and Prime Optimus Prime, right?
Yeah.
Which is Generation 1 Optimus Prime, but in a serious context.
Exactly.
And I feel like they do really well just in general with all the characters tugging on elements from Generation 1 iconography. Little plot threads or hints at subtext, or especially with like Alita Battle.
Alita Battle Angel. It's so easy to slip into.
Alita 1.
Not really a drastic reinvention of the character, but more of just like, again, honing in on a specific aspect of her character.
She's been fighting on Cybertron, whereas we speculate, well, spoilers for our speculation or analysis of that episode, which should come out in August.
Yes.
But we speculated that maybe they were in stasis or something until recently.
Right.
But in here, she's been fighting for 4 million years without Optimus. He's been taking a big nap for 4 million years.
Exactly.
And I love that they explore that dynamic of that, this has still been going on Cybertron for 4 million years while you've been taking a nap.
Where Cybertron...
they actually explore that emotional dynamic between the two of them.
Yeah, and then like when we actually see Cybertron and like the state that it's in and stuff, is that it's just awful. It's just so awful.
Yeah.
It's post-apocalyptic. It's the resource gathering that they are forced to stoop to is barbaric.
Yeah.
And it's just like having one of the Autobots who lives on Earth come to Cybertron and then witness that just they really, really nail G1's limited, like the season 1 episodes where they're so focused on the scarcity of Energon, and that it's like we're barely struggling to survive, and they again crank it up to 11. They have most of the conflict of the early issues be we are barely hanging on by a thread.
And even just on Earth too, because it's always, you know, they get blown up, you know, people Transformer characters die pretty easily, and then they can be put back together pretty easily too, depending on how they are damaged. But the problem is getting Energon, and that really creates great like stakes and sort of like a narrative through line between issues and stuff. Is okay, we've got to get some energy. We need to set this up so we can fix this guy, so we have more more help. And the strategy that they use to pick out, like, okay, we're gonna get this guy because he can help us repair these other guys. Okay, now we're gonna repair this guy because he can make us a force field, or you know. And
then sometimes it's like, dude, I want to fix this guy, but it means I have to go without an arm for a little while.
Actually having to make choices and stuff. Who gets fixed and how well do they get fixed? And then, you know, like poor Jetfire gets stuck in jet mode for a while. Yeah,
we haven't really explored too much about him, but that's a genuinely terrible fate to be in. It's that he's just locked in a single mode. And it's not even like, you know, oh, I'm just sitting here like that. It's like, I can't see. It's dark. I'm cold. I'm scared.
It's heartbreaking. There's some genuinely heartbreaking moments.
But like, it's heartbreaking, but it's not without hope. Because
right. There is hope that underlines everything that, you know, Optimus, you know, he gets, you know. Okay, my favorite panel in the whole thing is when Optimus punches Devastator and the sound effect says, "You know the song!" It's so good.
Cackled when I read that.
But it underlines the whole... Okay, number one, it's one of those good... Okay, Easter eggs can get out of hand when the general audience doesn't get the Easter egg, but the hardcore audience does, right?
Yes.
You know, I feel like generally all the references they do not negatively affect the general audience, but positively, positively affect the hardcore audience. That's one exception. However, that is the underlining theme of the... It's telling you that the touch is the underlining theme of Optimus's story arc is, you know, light in our darkest hour.
Yes.
That's not one of the lyrics, but you know what I mean.
Right.
The theme of the movie of everything getting dark and then, you know, finding the hope, sticking with the hope, being the hope.
Yeah.
That's the underlying message
the
of
light
this
is
story. You know?
The light shines brighter in darkness.
Right. And, you know, even when everybody else is giving up hope, don't you give up hope, because you can still give hope to other people.
Yeah. Which, minor spoilers for current continuity of the Transformers comic. You know, we've talked about what the Transformers comic is doing that's pulling from other things. But what is it doing that's new? And so far, it's mostly like, you know, honing in on a lot of aspects that were already present, but haven't really been focused on.
Yeah.
What it's doing new is
Shredhead,
which is the most 90s rad, like, Transformers design. He feels like he's straight out of G2.
Well, the 80s airbrushed van.
Yes, he's literally an 80s airbrushed van, or they.
This is literally a whole bunch of different sparks
it's an
together.
amalgam. But I love the origin of this character being Cliffjumper's hope for the future.
Yes,
is that it is a last ditch, like he is a turning the tide point, and the fact that they emerge, we haven't really seen much from them, but that it's really, really cool to see that.
Reigniting hope with a new character.
Exactly.
And, you know.
And a new toy!
And a new toy, hopefully. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. You know.
If they don't make a Shredhead toy, I don't know who is in charge at Hasbro.
Right. And no, that is definitely something that Transformers hasn't done in a while, is because they've been, you know, rehashing, especially recently, we've been getting so many updates of old characters, not
Yes.
new versions of old characters, but updates of old characters.
Yes.
Like
the last...
and we haven't been getting as many new characters.
Right.
Like the last major one, background live action characters don't count. But the last major one I remember is Windblade, And then she was everywhere.
Yeah,
and she looked the same everywhere.
She was kind of the only most prominent new character.
Yeah.
That maintained the public image of Transformers for a while.
Right.
She was the equivalent to Spider-Gwen, I want to say.
But I feel like Shredhead is going to be iconic to this comic book run, and probably not going to do a whole lot of other stuff. So it's cool to see
so.
and a new iconic character specifically in this run, but not expanded out into not overused everywhere else. It's a good OC.
Yeah. I think literally the only complaint that I've had so far, and it's not even really a complaint.
Yeah.
Well, two. The first one is pacing. It really, really takes its time setting things up. This entire universe has really, in Void Rivals, it's only hinted at a major threat.
Yeah.
That it's set as this is the goalpost. This could potentially be the final boss, but maybe not.
Yeah.
It could be the mid-season finale, quote. G.I. Joe, it's just really kicked off at this point. Transformers has kind of gotten to another mid-season point with, spoilers for later content, but the return of Megatron.
Right.
This is a huge turning point for Transformers specifically.
Yeah.
But overall, if you really look at the plot by plot, moment by moment of the issues, and again, it's all of them have been around maybe 25 issues at the max so far. It's still early.
Yeah.
But yeah, it hasn't covered a ton of ground. But really, it's the quality of that ground.
I was going to say, yeah. But the ground it has covered has been very good. And I think that I actually thought the pacing was pretty good. That's some complaints that I've had about other comic series, and kind of why I fell off of IDW was that there's just too much and it goes in too many different ways, and
you never can tell where you're supposed to read and when and why.
Yeah. And I even got to a point where I was questioning do I like comic books? But no, this Transformers series has restored my faith in franchise comic books.
Yes. This is one of the good ones.
Yeah. Is really good. I thought that the pacing was pretty good in this, and that the ground that it does cover is pretty good quality. And I can see it actually coming to a head and bringing these continuity. I imagine that there's going to be a big finale with the return of Megatron. That's going to be an arc, and then there's probably going to be G.I. Joe Volume 2, and then they're probably going to merge Transformers and G.I. Joe, and then they're going to merge the G.I. Joe Transformers with Void Rivals. And
yes.
I would expect it to have a definite end there.
Most likely.
I mean, it can continue after that, but it should have a good end point. I'm hoping that it has a good end point, because that's another thing about comics is they never end.
Yes. A good sign for the future is that Robert Kirkman is the quote-unquote showrunner of these comics. He has made two extremely popular comics that had definite endings.
Yeah.
The Walking Dead and Invincible.
Right.
Now, some of those, they went on for a very long time.
Yeah.
And they did come to a conclusive end.
As long as there's a plan, I'm okay with a long show.
Yes. But, as far as that aspect, I do believe that the Energon Universe is in good hands as far as the creative team and stuff.
I will miss Derek J. Wyatt.
Yeah, Daniel Warren Johnson. Yeah.
I think.
So, with issue 25.
Daniel Warren Johnson?
Yes.
I will miss Daniel Warren Johnson.
Yeah, he is writer and artist for Transformers.
Right.
He will be departing as of issue 25.
Yeah.
However, The issue after that, we've seen a little bit of the images and stuff. It hasn't come out yet at this point, but it's being taken over by Kirkman himself and Dan Mora, I believe his name is, and the art is it is a pretty significant shift.
Yeah, but it looks good too.
It's still in theme.
Speaking of ends, I think we should wrap up our discussion of this as we are at time. Real quick, just theorize at me.
Yes.
One sentence. Who do you think Astrotrain's love that got killed by Megatron is?
The priest on Titan. The one in the God Gambit. The sleazy priest.
Jared or something?
Or Xantor or whatever his name was. I don't remember.
I think it was like Jared or something.
It was like Jared. It was a really weirdly normal name.
Okay, I think it's the Astroforce.
Imagine
the
him
remote
being
control card.
just this rage-fueled, revenge-focused, like, you took away the one person I love the most. And it's like, what's the one person you love the most? A fleet of trains?
My model trains.
Yeah. Whoever it is, it's got to be someone that he's a control freak over.
And with that, let's take a short break and we'll come back with the second half of our discussion tonight. All right, so we are now discussing the current Japanese series that is running, Transformers Wild King. And when did you find out about this, Aiden?
About a week ago. And
because of me?
Because of you.
Yeah.
And I watched it about a couple hours ago.
Yeah, so this is the new Japanese series. It is a web series, about 5-minute long episodes released on the Takara Tomy YouTube channel. And although you can already find fan subs and even fan dubs of it,
which is insane.
Currently, it's only up to about 7 episodes. I think episode 8 comes out later this month. I've watched all 7 episodes. Hayden, you've watched how many?
I've watched first 2 and then like a little bit of the last one.
Okay.
I haven't seen it all, but you can knock it out in like less than an hour. They're like little tiny 5 to 10 minute episodes. They're webisodes.
Yeah.
But
there's also like some little toy, there's a little bit of stop motion, a little bit of toy doll action.
Yeah, most of the runtime is
recap.
Dedicated to like a toy review.
Yeah, at the end. It's kind of funny. Speaking of the toys, let's go ahead and talk about the toys. You've got kind of a generic Optimus and Megatron where, one turns into a truck, one turns into a tank, and then you've got a slew of animal and dinosaur characters. And
this is like a weird mix of like Beast Wars, like Beast Wars Neo-ish character designs along with evergreen Optimus and Megatron character designs.
Right. With the powers of Scramble City and Combiner Wars.
Yeah.
Because Optimus and Megatron can become the torsos. You detach their arms and legs, and you can transform any of the animal characters into arms or legs, and some of them into backpacks.
These I do like that. There's very consistent theming with the Autobot Decepticons sides. There's not really like. This really feels like just a spat between Optimus and Megatron.
Yeah. That's
localized to a random planet.
We'll talk about the story in a second, but let's finish talking about the toys. You've got the Animal Tribe, which is Light Long, who turns into a giraffe. Very reminiscent of, I think his name's Long Rack from Beast Wars Neo.
Yeah.
You've got Hydrophant, which I think is a great name.
That is actually a pretty good Transformers name.
The little blue spot on the top of he turns into an elephant, and it looks like the elephant is wearing a little baseball cap, which I think is adorable.
Yeah.
You've got Ignite Leo, who is a killer design looking flaming lion.
Yes.
You've got Drill No Horn, which I don't understand why they didn't just call him Drill Horn as a reference to the Victory character. But
Yeah.
he turns
Man,
into
I forgot about him.
a rhinoceros. Then the dinosaur tribe is Captain Volca, who has an eye patch and turns into a T-Rex. Leafback, who turns into a
Triceratops.
Right? He's pretty cool, somewhat original design.
He
does
doesn't
not steal from Slag as much as you would think.
Yeah.
He's got kind of like a samurai horned helmet look going on.
I didn't hate his robot form.
Spirituan is my favorite. He's a Spinosaurus, and he's got like kind of a feather crest hat going on that's kind of reminiscent of one of the characters from the original Beast Wars toy line. I can't remember who it is at the moment. I think it's Prowl, but I'm not sure. Abyssrain.
Who?
He is the blue ninja Stegosaurus.
Never in 1,000 years would I think Stegosaurus and ninja
and then there's
would go well together.
Thunderbeak, who turns into a pterodactyl. And I guess is the only female. I think no, no. They say it's a he. Okay, so they're all guys in this.
This is an all boys club.
Yeah. Anyway, some of them are voiced by girls because they're supposed to be younger. I think.
Yeah.
That's why they sound like girls. They all are color coordinated to different elements: lightning, air, earth, and water.
Fire.
And
Yes.
water. Yeah.
Yes?
And then when
Yes.
they combine with Optimus and Megatron, it's called Wild Docking, and they become Wild Kings.
Yeah, it's it's very Power Rangers.
Yes, exactly. So the storyline starts out of the episodes. The storyline starts out with Optimus and Megatron are apparently buddies, or at least co-workers.
Our friends, ?
Optimus thinks they're friends, but I think they're just kind of co-workers.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder. But they're exploring the planet Elementros, and Megatron it loses communication with Optimus, so Optimus goes down to try to find him, and then he finds that Megatron has become evil and is taking control of the dinosaur tribe to become the Wild King and take over the planet and get all of the elemental energy. So Optimus teams up with the animal tribe and to become his own Wild King. And it kind of goes, the episodes are mostly, each episode a new character is introduced and they join one side or the other. I like the episode where Spirituan and Ignite Leo, at first they attack Optimus to see how tough he is. Also, there's a prophecy that a hero would come from the sky and become the Wild King.
Of course there's a prophecy.
So Optimus is the prophesied hero, so they're testing him. And Spirituan at first seems to want to broker peace between the dinosaur and animal tribe, who are kind of not really in a cold war, but they have like an agreement that they don't trespass on each other's territory.
Yeah.
And Spirituan is trying to be a good guy, but then he gets mind controlled by Megatron.
Yeah.
Because Megatron's got to have all the you got to catch them all.
Look, man, like, this is as bare bones of a story as you could possibly get.
Yeah.
But the fact that they actually tried to get some kind of nuance with Spirituan being a Decepticon that is already like more neutral than anything else.
Yeah.
He's not real. He's just Decepticon by origin rather than by choice.
Speaking of, why do you think that it seems like, what do you think the setting is for Optimus and Megatron, like before they got to this planet? It doesn't seem that there's like a war going on between Autobots and Decepticons.
That's the thing. This feels like just a little skirmish.
Yeah.
That's entirely like originating from Optimus and Megatron. Whether or not this is like an origin story or anything like that, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's like they actually are like just it feels like they're part of some sort of like Starfleet organization.
Right.
And then it's just, this is just so happens to be the mission that Megatron decides to go rogue.
Yeah. And it's just him, too.
And he's just like, and I've been evil the whole time.
So it makes me wonder, other than for brand recognition, why does Optimus and Megatron have Autobot and Decepticon symbols, like, in this show?
Yeah.
I don't... Like, if they were working together before
brand.
this... Yeah, if they were working before this, like, are the Autobots and Decepticons, like... what's going on Cybertron? Is there a Cybertron?
Yeah.
Is it just Optimus and Megatron are just two cosmic entities that wander around and explore planets?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the universe doesn't exist beyond these two.
And this one planet.
This is just a cosmic vacuum.
Yeah. Well, and this planet reminds me of Jungle Planet from Cybertron.
Yes, a very, very Jungle Planet, like Jungle Key.
And it has a similar vibe to it where it's like, oh, we're going to go pick up new friends.
Yeah.
Or,
this is very like Cybertron-ish, like Transformers Cybertron-ish in storytelling.
Yeah.
It's very Power Rangers anime-ish, like story, beat by beat story, where it's mostly like, hey, this guy's pretty cool. What does he do? Oh, he does this thing.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's attacking us. Looks like we gotta team up. Oh man, we're gonna attack him. Oh no, but he's gonna attack with an even stronger attack. It's very kids smashing action figures together.
Yeah. You would think that being 5 minutes long, they would avoid the trap of the anime pacing problem, but they don't.
It is present even here.
They don't.
Now, I will say...
I do really like the... when Megatron gets fully powered up, that he just takes Optimus out with one punch.
Yes. Very entertaining to see a gut punch just sitting him like, oh.
He just falls into the hole. Yeah.
But I will give the show, the voice acting is pretty solid. Like, I know with a lot of like kid-oriented animation, Japanese voice actors will just crank it into the stratosphere with the hyper exaggeration of their voices and like sort of thing.
Just constantly yelling at you.
Yeah, but this one actually feels more like normal dialogue.
Okay, well,
at least from the Japanese audio.
You didn't get to the episode with Hydrophant though.
I did not.
I thought, oh, cute little elephant guy. And then he was just the most annoying character because he's constantly whining and constantly freaking out and constantly screaming about things.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than that, the rest of the, like you said, that was another reason I like Spirichuan, is because he talks in a calm voice.
Yes.
As compared to everybody else yelling all the time.
Yeah.
But the...
tolerance levels will vary on these voices.
Yeah.
However, it is all worth it to hear Megatron's voice actor say,
"Oh yes,
Optimus."
I love Japanese Megatron voice actors.
Yes,
they're just brilliant.
This is also leaning way into the classic Japanese definitions of Optimus and Megatron being shining hero of light versus demon king of darkness sort of interpretations, which is grand.
Yeah. What do you think about the animation in general?
It reminds me a lot of like the Nest webisodes that we got from the live action movies, where it's these, it's just the 3D scan of the toy,
right?
But this is actually well animated.
Yes,
like it is pretty well animated and choreographed. It's not suffering from like Transformers Energon or Cybertron's blockitis,
right?
Where they're just horrifically limited by the toys. Dimensions, but it also doesn't like squash and stretch them a lot. It lets them be blocky and everything like that. The toys themselves, very kibble heavy.
Yeah. I guess we didn't finish our discussion of the toys. The all the animal characters and dinosaur characters are basically they basically turn into a block with animal parts
attached onto them with 5mm points
to make them distinct.
Yeah.
And then they turn into the limbs, and in the molding you can see there's like fists and stuff, but because of the color blocking, it just looks like kind of this kibbly mess.
Yeah.
It's fine though. It's very Power Rangers, like we said.
Yeah.
It's
fun.
You got giraffe head and elephant head sticking off of shoulders.
Yeah.
And, dinosaur head sticking off of knees and stuff. And
Yeah.
little feet sticking out everywhere. But it's fine.
For what this is, it's kind of fun. Like, it's kind of entertaining.
That's what I like about it. It's just fun.
Yeah. It's also like Transformers lives and dies by its weird little things.
Yeah.
Like, it just will randomly do a Power Rangers Dino Force combiner oriented, very small toy with a very distinct gimmick, and it's so short lived. It like doesn't even last like maybe a few months or so, but it's just like a random wild swing. And those are always fun to watch. The Transformers would be nothing without those.
Right. That's what gives it such a nice, like, diverse portfolio.
Just like, look,
like just all these, if you don't, that's what I really like about.
You'll laugh now at Hydrophant, but wait until a comic 20 years from now picks him up and turns him into one of the most gut-wrenching characters in fiction. This is where we get our well of characters to draw from.
And that's what I really like is that we are, these are new characters, even though some of them are very reminiscent of Beast Wars 2 and Beast Wars Neo and stuff like that. And Optimus and Megatron are evergreen tank truck Optimus Megatron.
This is the next generation.
No. We actually get new characters,
Trust me, Lightlung is going to be the next Bumblebee. Trust me, bro.
Also, those backgrounds are very photorealistic.
Yes, randomly.
They look like a AAA video game.
Yes.
But it's also just nothing.
It's RTX on for the backgrounds and then RTX off for everything with the characters.
Okay, that's another thing that I don't like about the animation, though, is that their mouths don't move, just their eyes light up, and I feel like that's kind of wasted
There's
potential.
like a weird little charm to it. I kind of like that.
In a robotic sense, I kind of like it. On the other hand, and also it makes dubbing it easier.
Yes.
But on the other hand, it's like, come on. Don't be lazy. But the rest of the animation's pretty good.
It's also a couple of webisodes. It's
also,
like, I understand.
Yeah. Well,
what is it, like 8 episodes?
I don't know how many episodes it's going to run for.
Okay.
Apparently episode 8 comes out later this month. I don't know how many there's going to be.
Who knows? Maybe
I imagine there will be about at least 10.
This is the next One Piece. It's just going to be 1,000 episodes long.
I like the modularity of the toys, though. How they look like, if they were over here, they would sell. They seem like decently solid toys where, like, they would sell for a small price, and you could just, collect whichever ones you like, whatever your favorite color is, whatever your favorite animal is, and then you just plug them into the main toy.
Look,
and do
sometimes you have a niece or nephew who wants, an Optimus Prime, and heaven help you if you try to find one that's under $20. This guy looks like he'd probably be around that price range. Like, I'm all for that.
I mean, he probably is like $20 or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's probably $40 or
but maybe it's like, you want to get him a Transformer or something and just pick up like a Dino, whatever his name was. Vulcan or because like
Captain Volca, he has an eye patch.
Captain Volca, cool. Like.
It's funny that we don't see him in robot mode till like episode 7.
It's so easy to discount something like this.
Yeah.
But these are usually the entry point for kids.
Yeah.
Like, you have to remember that this is fundamentally toys for kids.
Right.
Sometimes you just gotta get them a T-Rex that turns into a robot.
Yeah.
To get them into Transformers.
Yeah.
Like, this is what happens.
Yeah.
This is hope for the future.
Yeah. All right, we got about 4.5 minutes left, but I feel like we've kind of talked through this.
It's hard to talk about this for longer than 20 minutes.
All right, let's take a short break and we'll come back with our next toy line for kids.
Yes.
And we're back. All right, now this will probably be even shorter because we have no cartoon as of the recording of this episode, so we're going to talk about the new American Transformers series.
What's going on in America?
Cyberworld, which is also taking the same direction, or not the same direction, but a similar direction to Wild King, in that it is going to be a series of webisodes on YouTube, releasing, I believe, July 12th. So
this is one of our rare coverage of something that hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
And speculation about something that hasn't come out yet. Like, man, we're on the money right now. Like,
yeah.
cutting edge.
Yeah. And by the time you listen to this, it'll probably already be too late.
Most likely.
Yeah, no. But anyway.
Oh, the speculation for not. Oh!
Okay, so the Cyberworld is going to have some webisodes on YouTube, and it is going to have a new toy line series, Yamed? What is Yamed?
Yamed.
Aimed at a much younger audience, but I think that they... Let's talk about the toys first. I love that we are getting new interpretations of old characters, new alt modes, new designs for characters, right? Go to that website that I sent you there.
Oh, wow. I am taking a look at some of these for the first time, and these are interesting.
Yes. So, okay. However, I feel like the design of these toys was made for 3-year-olds. Somebody was designing the actual toy themselves for 3-year-olds.
Yes.
And decided that, because I feel like this show is going to be marketed towards 5 to 10-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
But you know what else was marketed to 5 to 10-year-olds? Armada, Energon, and Cybertron. Those were solid toys.
How in the world were those marketed to 5 to 10-year-olds?
I had a Transformers Masterpiece Optimus Prime by the time I was 10.
Yeah.
I knew how to transform that thing. It took me 30 minutes.
Yep.
But I knew how to transform that thing. I feel like kids deserve better, more solid toys, less hollow parts, more posability. Half these characters either don't have knees or don't have elbows.
Yeah.
I feel
these are very much the culprits of boxitis syndrome.
the budget, I feel like the budgets were cut on these things in favor of making the higher end toys be more not intricate or something.
These aren't even really
these aren't even that cheap though. Like it's like $15, $25. Oh, there's a $10. Oh my gosh, it's a $10 Transformer.
Incredible.
In 2025? Impossible. Okay, so that aside, let's talk about what I do like about them. Scale. They're actually made, the core conceit around these is that they're actually made to be in scale with each other and playable at a play scale. There's a giant Grimlock and a giant Scorponok that are play sets for the smaller characters to ride and interact with.
Yes, which is, I don't really think ever been something that's been at like the core of a toy line. Like they've always had
since, like the City and Micromaster characters.
Like you have like the class systems from Transformers Cybertron with like Scout, Voyager, Titan class, and everything like that. Where it's like this is a general price range and size range that they can kind of work together, but usually it's not really that big of a focus. But the main selling point of this is that the smaller ones can play around on the bigger ones.
And that's awesome.
Yes.
That is something I always love doing. That's why I love mini-cons. That's why I love, Armada Energon character toys, because, sure, not all of them were super posable, but they were solid toys, man.
Yeah, and
these look, I don't know. I'd have to get one in hand, but they look like they would be very, very light and hollow.
Yeah, they look very plasticky. But like, if this is for it said it's marketed towards 6 and up. But
that's even older than what I thought.
it is. And like on immediate glance, I was like, well, sometimes you just want a hunk of plastic that a kid can nosh on.
I mean...
But, like, why give him a Transformer if that's the case?
At 7, I wanted Masterpiece Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
And I saved my money until I bought one.
Yep. Dang, you bought him with your own money?
Well, I had a lot of birthday money.
Wow, okay.
And Christmas money, and allowance money, and odd jobs money. It wasn't like 7. It was probably 10.
You were like... You were
10.
like investing in a 401k for that thing.
I didn't save the box or anything, so he's probably worthless now.
He's not worthless to you.
He was real to me.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway.
But yes, these are.
But I
regardless
love
of the toys,
scale and interactivity aspect.
Yes.
Of this toy line.
Regardless of this, the toys themselves. Let's look at some of the characters that are being showcased. It's a very bizarre arrangement.
Okay, you have this bright neon Scorponok as like the centerpiece.
Holy smokes! Scorponok is back. When was the last time we saw a toy of him?
Combiner War or not Combiner? War for Cybertron Scorponok.
Okay.
The monster. Have you seen that thing? That thing's like a yard tall or something.
Maybe I have not, but
But anyway.
But yeah, it's always cool to see him.
This guy looks cool. I love he reminds me of Trans Tech colors.
Yes.
But a little too bright. Grimlock is also a very large one, and apparently can be like a mobile. He can like split apart into several different pieces, and looks really fun. In that, like, he can be a mobile command suit for Optimus Prime and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a big thing that I like
Optimus
about.
can ride him, like Age of Extinction.
Yeah. One thing I really like about these is that, especially Scorponok, it feels very much like Metroplex and Fortress Maximus and Trypticon. That sort of like you're buying a background for adventures to happen on sort of thing.
Yeah.
I do like that a lot.
Okay, we've got Megatron in a new alt mode. It's some sort of military truck thing.
This is a G2 Megatron,
yeah,
too.
it looks like G2 Megatron with the green and purple color scheme. I love seeing this guy.
The Hulk color scheme.
Yeah, Hulk Megatron. But he's not a tank. Oh my gosh, can you imagine how glad I am to see Megatron turn into something other than a tank? Which is ironic that he has the G2 color scheme, because that's the first time he turned into a tank.
Yeah.
But he is a chunky boy. I love his design.
Yeah.
I really like these new designs conceptually.
This is a wild Galvatron design.
Is this Galvatron?
This is in fact Galvatron.
He has a handlebar mustache. He turns into some sort of farting dragon.
Yes, I have no idea what this is. It's just a bricked, like an incredibly square, almost Trypticon looking thing with wings on its back, but it's like a dragon.
This is an awesome new design for Galvatron. I
weird.
I love his Macho Man Randy Savage mustache.
Yeah, he's got like
shades.
He's got the shades.
Okay, so then you have Junkion Snarl Dinobot.
What in the world?
He's like Junkion colored and mismatched and has like pipes coming out one side, but he's also a Stegosaurus. He's cool. I don't know who is this guy.
It is.
I guess he's just Snarl.
It's Snarl. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
There is apparently also going to be a Skybite at some point. We don't have a picture of him.
We have Mirage turning into a jet.
Very interesting.
Very strange. Very interesting. I like that, though.
It looks pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's toy-wise, it looks weird, but like I imagine the design itself that'll show up in the show will be kind of neat. There's other. Where's the rest of the characters?
There's a Bumblebee,
scroll further
Galvatron.
down. Yeah, okay, so Bumblebee.
Mirage. There's a
Bumblebee looks pretty
There's a
generic.
Megatron-looking dude, but he's like a bull, and he's like
I
blue
want to know who
and
that guy
gold.
is.
He's kind of cool looking.
Yeah, he really reminds me. Who am I thinking of? There is a bull character in Transformers Beast Wars 2, I believe.
Keep scrolling. I found Skybite.
Skybite is a shark on wheels, and
he's a Hot Wheel looking dude.
What is this madness? I love it.
The two-tone shark on wheels.
It's insane. Skybite's back and he's the shark on wheels, which apparently also happens in... I haven't watched all of R.I.P.
How in the world is Skybite back?
He shows up when you least expect it. He showed up in like the Classics line. He showed up in the Legends line. He showed up in recent... He's getting a new toy coming up soon. And now he's in Cyberworld. He's just one of those fan favorite characters that shows up every once in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've also seen, you can see here, there's also Optimus riding.
Yes, Optimus riding Dinobot in dinosaur mode and then also piloting him like a mech.
Yeah. Crazy.
Very bizarre.
Yep. You can see also like Bull Megatron and Dragon Galvatron piloting Scorponok's toe lasers.
Yeah. It feels very Rescue Heroes in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Like that kind of Imagine Next Rescue Heroes. Like very early 2000s Hasbro sort of stuff.
To be fair, yeah. Okay, Rescue Heroes. Now you've made it click for me.
Yes.
Still.
But yeah, still. Like I was still getting Rescue Heroes for like under $10. Like that's how I got so many of them.
Yeah.
These are pretty expensive.
And then also at the, I just expect a little more articulation, a little more solid plastic.
Yeah.
I don't know how they feel in
again, it's
Optimus turns into generic truck. Yeah, it looks like the transformations are pretty simplistic, but I feel like the kids could handle a little more, difficulty.
Yeah. But yeah, the main thing with these is that they're very
generic.
snappy transformations. It's very like 3 to 5 moves that you have to do before they're like fully in their mode. So I do appreciate that aspect of it because there is kind of a like clicks in your brain sort of thing with like a very quick like oh wow I'm done. Hey, that was neat.
And I guess that's
and then it's like transforming them back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
That's the way the original toys were too.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, they didn't have the greatest articulation and they didn't have the very complex transformations, but they were made of metal.
Yeah.
They were made of metal.
Some transformations come from the there's a puzzle aspect to them.
Yeah.
And some toys will really, really make that the focus of it is like figuring out this puzzle. But sometimes you just want to be able to like snap him into a car as fast as possible. And there's like a tactile feel to that's I imagine really, really appealing to, pretty young kids.
Yeah. But like I said, like a 4-year-old could do this. I feel like a 10-year-old deserves something a little more complex.
Yeah.
But yeah,
let's talk a bit about the trailer though.
Well, first I do want to reiterate, I really love that we are getting new designs, new alt modes, new iterations of these characters.
Yeah, Mirage is a jet.
Mirage is a jet. I've seen pictures of a different Optimus that does not turn into a truck, but some sort of armored off-road vehicle.
Interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Something new.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk about the trailer because we only got 8 minutes left.
Yeah, so the trailer doesn't really give us too much. It's more of just showing like this is the animation style. It's kind of similar to Wild King, where it's 3D scans of the toys themselves. Like
no, they look like they're actually number one, they're articulated.
Well, yes,
they look like much more character design versions. Apparently, also, Lita 1 turns into a boat.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Again, unique alt forms.
Right. Yeah. And we don't have that many boats, so it's cool that Elita 1 gets to turn into something different also,
Yeah.
She generally gets to turn into something different all the time anyway.
Yeah, because she never had one to begin with.
Well, she had one. It was just hidden behind Optimus.
Yeah.
But yeah, it shows several different characters, like, coming towards this one main area in Cybertron and a voice and over, like...
I think it's Scorponok.
No, it sounds like a woman.
Oh, okay.
Unless Scorponok's a woman.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, this voiceover says something about like initiating a program.
Yeah, enter if you dare sort of thing.
Enter if you dare sort of thing.
But I think what this is gearing up towards is this is a multiverse situation, because most of the like promotional work around this is surrounding the hexagons, and each one seems to be a little vignette of some sort of scene or scenario. And sometimes we'll see Optimus in one vignette and then a slightly different Optimus in a different vignette.
Yeah.
So I think this is doing like a multiverse Thunderdome sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like different versions of these characters are coming from different universes and coming together in like a Secret Wars style like battle world setting to just like have shenanigan adventures of some kind.
This could be the closest we get to what I assumed Transtech was going to be like.
That one's like very nebulous canon when it comes to like the comics and stuff, since they were dealing with multiverse stuff.
Well, I was thinking the original idea.
Oh, the original Transtech.
Yeah, as a sequel to Beast Wars.
Yeah.
Beast Machines. Of this sort of cyberpunk, cybernetic characters living in the new techno-organic world or something like that.
Right.
You know. Actually, I don't know how those would be compatible. But anyway, but this is kind of what I imagine like a Transtech sort of storyline being. I think that it's like a computer program. Like Cybertron is in an era of peace, but there's some sort of computer program that has created this like battle simulation arena on Cybertron that they have to go in to test. You know, if it is really skewed young, then maybe it is like just to go in there and test themselves against these holograms of ancient enemies from Cybertron's past. But if it's if it has a little bit more of a serious story, maybe it's like some sort of simulation like The Matrix, or somehow they need to go into this simulation that's connected to Primus's mindscape or something like that. And they have to, and like the Decepticons inside are viruses or something like that, and they have to save Primus by going into these simulations to fight the viruses or something like that.
Yeah, but if you look at it from that angle, then like why not just do Vector Sigma? But then again, Transformers hasn't always made the logical choice either. So because they could sell a giant Primus toy and to scale with their little guys. A $100 Primus toy.
Maybe not to scale because you couldn't fit them in your house.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. They could sell a giant Primus toy. They can't sell a giant Vector Sigma toy.
That's true.
I think Vector Sigma has a toy, but it's always packaged with something else.
Yeah. It's hard to sell an orb.
Yeah, unless it transforms.
Yes.
Or you just have a ball.
But true.
But yeah, that's my theory, is that it's some sort of like battle simulation computer program that they have to go into for some reason.
Yeah.
This is like the Tron of Transformers, but like it's like they're going. Oh no, it's gonna be Transformers Fortnite, isn't it?
It's what the kids like.
I'm done with this show. I'm done. No.
It's what the kids like. I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I have hope for Cyberworld. Because I grew up on Cyber Chase.
True. Now, granted, I have seen nothing but clips from, like, Cyberverse. And there's another one connected to that same sort of thing. But, like, the little shorts that have preceded Cyberworld, they do have like a kind of tongue-in-cheek like tone to them, where it's like, we know that we're aimed at younger kids and stuff, so let's just have fun with this premise.
Yeah.
And while still acknowledging like the adults that will inevitably watch this.
Yeah.
So, you know, there'll probably be some fun moments in it.
Yeah. I imagine it'll be a fun show.
Yeah.
At least
I am very excited to see what they do with
it can't be
Radical, Galvatron, and Skybyte's return.
It can't be worse than the Machinima series. Because that was the last time we had a webisode series. That was a mainline toy line series.
To quote, what's this? Oh gosh. To quote Devastator from that show, what a nerd.
Anyway.
Anything else?
I actually can't wait to rewatch that so we can just have a good laugh at it. Anyway. But that's what's fun about Transformers is even if it's not, absolute cinema, you can always have a laugh. With it, you can either have a laugh with it or a laugh at it.
Yeah, you're still watching Transformers and getting some sort of entertainment out of it.
Just have a good fun time. I'm looking forward to seeing what this web series has to offer.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not as into the toys, I'm super hyped about the new character designs.
Yeah.
And I am very interested in seeing where this story goes.
Also, invite your young ones into it. Any young people that you have in your life that...
Yeah, this is not a franchise just for adults. Yeah. This is a franchise for children.
Yeah, welcome them in.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, don't gatekeep Transformers by being like, oh, you can only watch this show because it's good, but... just go ahead, welcome new people who are like, hey, I got in through this show,
Heck, half the time that I've heard of, kids wanting to get into something and then their parents show them the kid version of it.
Yeah.
Like the kid-oriented show.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they want to see the more mature geared towards older kids
show.
I was that way, same way viewer discretion advised, obviously, but know what the kid is capable of handling.
Definitely know what
I wouldn't say man, I love Cyberworld. Oh really? You'll love this comic. This is Transformers comic.
Yeah, no,
I'm sure you'll love to see Optimus rip his own arm off.
Like start with Cyberworld or something like that, or Cyberverse or something like that, and then take them back to G1, and then then get them into some of the more serious ones, or take them back to Armada or Animated or Cybertron or something, and then get them into Prime, and then or just start them with Transformers 1 because that's a good movie.
It's a very good movie.
Transformers 1 is a good movie.
And I think the biggest thing that goes unsaid with these sort of things a lot of times is that it's okay if they don't like it. Sometimes it just bounces off of them.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean
it'll save you money.
It'll save you money.
So that you can buy more Transformers for yourself.
You'll still love Transformers, even if your kid doesn't.
But yeah, I mean, and yeah, it's always a good, it's always... You always hope that a new Transformers series can be enjoyed by both children and adults. But sometimes it's good to have a Transformers series that's geared towards children, like, Rescue Bots or something like that, and a Transformers series that's geared towards adults, like the Energon Universe.
Exactly.
Right?
It's a win-win.
Right. I think that's enough talking for tonight. We have hit our time on our Cyberworld discussion. Any final thoughts on any of these?
Energon Universe, some of the best Transformers that has come out in recent years. Wild King. One of the strangest things that has come out in recent years. Cyberworld, potentially one of the weirdest things that has come out in recent years. To be announced.
There's a rumor that we might get a cartoon based on the Skybound comics. So
yes, considering the fact that we already have the Invincible show being adapted from Robert Kirkman's Invincible comic, and that Robert Kirkman is headlining this Energon Universe and is also heavily involved in the production of the Invincible show, things are looking pretty good for a potential adaptation of this. I'd be very interested.
All right. Well, we hope that you have enjoyed listening to us ramble on for a while. And
you wouldn't be subscribed if you did.
Our regular analysis podcast will resume in August. And we should be wrapping up season 2 by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So we will see you then. Thank you very much for joining us. And until then, our podcast is available on both YouTube and Spotify. So with that, transform and roll out.
Yes. Roll away.